Alrighty, friends, welcome back to Napoleon's Battles here on History with Tim. Real quick, this is our history channel. Welcome if this is your first time viewing. What we do here is we have original content as well as reaction videos to music videos, games, anything. We do gameplays and other such things. I haven't really done any reaction videos to music lately just because of the Napoleon movie coming out. I want to get these battles done, and today is the day Napoleon comes out. And this is our final battle. I'm doing this very early in the morning before even work. So, we are doing today the Battle of Waterloo. Waterloo took place June 18th, 1815. This was a culmination of the 100-day campaign. Napoleon returned from exile earlier in the year, and he marched in Paris without firing a single shot and retook his throne. Quickly, the Allied powers reacted. Austria and Russia began mobilizing troops. Prussia had already had an army under Gebhard Von Blucher in Belgium, as did the Anglo-Allied army under the command of Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington. Now, Wellington was directed to take command of the coalition army that's job was to invade France and depose Napoleon. Because while this is all going on, the Congress of Vienna, which is it was kind of a precursor to not only the UN, but the League of Nations. It was this giant meeting about the balance of power in Europe. That was going on, so they had to rush troops in order to, one, preserve what they were doing, and two, make sure Napoleon was not able to reconquer the continent. Napoleon's plan, however, was to do a preemptive strike. So he created a new army called the Army of the North, and he striked hard into the Dutch Lowlands, or what we today know as Belgium. While he did that, he defeated the Prussians at the Battle of Ligny, and he directed one of his marshals, Grouchy, to pursue the Prussians under Gebhard Von Blucher. Now, he and another French officer named Gerard pursued Blucher, and their job was to make sure that they did not rejoin with Wellington's force. Wellington had engaged with the corps of Marshal Ney at the Battle of Carabras, while the Battle of Ligny was going on. What unfortunately happened, though, was Ney was not confident in his troops' capabilities of pursuit, so he held back waiting for reserves he was promised by Napoleon. This will be mistake number one in the campaign, because now Wellington was able to choose the ground of his liking. Our next move will be Wellington choosing Waterloo. So, as we know, the battle happens, Napoleon loses. Napoleon actually was winning up until the point that the Prussians arrived. Emmanuel Grouchy thought he was between the French army and the Prussians. In fact, he was behind them, following them step by step by step, instead of diagonal that they couldn't intercept. And it's ironic because Grouchy actually, after Waterloo, will defeat the Prussians at a separate battle, but a little too late for his emperor. Today, we're going to see if I can win where Napoleon couldn't as we fight the Battle of Waterloo. Alrighty, friends, so as always, here we are on the fields of Waterloo. We see in front of us, we have the Piémont, we have La Haye-Saint, and we have Hougomont. Just before I do the Napoleon thing, like I usually do, let him speak, I'm just going to tell you, I will not be doing his tactics. Clearly, no offense to him, but obviously they did not work. I also had the hindsight of knowing the Prussians are going to be arriving, so kind of puts me in a better place than him. But again, we're using the Field Command mod for Napoleon Total War, so I will not see the British unless they're in the open. But here, let's have Napoleon explain what's going to go down, and let's see if I can win it.
June 18th, 1815. This will be Wellington's final encounter with me. Having chosen his field of battle, the British will need to make use of their farmhouses. But Hougomont, on my far left, will be mine by nightfall. In my center, La Haye-Saint currently lies in the hands of the ill-equipped Allied Dutch. And on my extreme right, Papelot.
Papelot, not Piedmont. Why did I
This
say
is an
Piedmont?
excellent base from which to mount an attack on the British. Wellington's main army, however, occupies the northern part of the plains of Mont Saint-Jean, laying in wait behind a sunken lane. This gives him a strategic advantage over me, and I will need to take some care when ordering an attack there. I have sent Grouchy to pursue the Prussians. He must hound them. But will he send word? Grouchy, he tries my patience.
An interesting fact about Emmanuel Grouchy is the fact that he had only just become a marshal during the 100 Days campaign. He actually wasn't even a marshal yet. We'll have Marshal Ney and all of them. I'm going to hide behind here because I don't want to lose anyone. Yeah, he had actually not even been a marshal that long. He had just recently become one. And he was given this job, which was a very important job to, pursue the Prussians, which he was a good general. Like, to say Grouchy was not a good general would be a lie. But this was a very important, job for him to do, pursuing the Prussians. And he, he was you can't blame a guy. It was probably horrifying for him. It's your first campaign and you're the highest rank in the military. But, Grouchy was, that was a mistake on his part. I don't know if I'd say Grouchy was a bad commander, because there's obviously a reason Napoleon made him a marshal, but he definitely messed up with that. Because, again, his belief was the Prussians would go back to Berlin. He didn't think they would stay in Belgium. I love the Young Guard. They look really good. Love me a good shakeout. These are just Fusiliers. Where's the Old Guard? Oh, there they are. My favorite's the Old Guard. Oh, there's 2 Old Guard in there. Should be... Yeah, Victor Hugo's father, for those of you who don't know, Victor Hugo's the man who wrote Les Miserables and and Hunchback of Notre Dame, among other things. He was a fantastic writer. He wrote many things. But his father, I believe his name was Alexander Hugo. No, it wasn't Alexander Hugo. Let me look that up. His father, though, was a general in Napoleon's Guard. I don't know if he exactly was in the Guard, but he actually, Victor grew up a few months on Elba, because his father, Joseph Leopold Hugo, his father had actually gone into exile with Napoleon. So he grew up in exile for a few months. And, that really, a lot of people often point to Les Miserables about the whole Marius Pontmercy. Marius Pontmercy, Victor Hugo said, was based on him. Marius is the love, for those of you that haven't read the book or seen any of the movie adaptations of the book and have only seen the play, it's Marius, the guy that sings A Heart Full of Love and that. He actually is the character Victor Hugo based the most on himself, a young man who believed in republicanism. And for those of you around those in the United States, republicanism doesn't mean the conservative party of the United States. Republicanism is the belief that the people should have representative government. And that's what people like Victor Hugo, when they were young, believed in. And ironically, Victor Hugo would help Napoleon's nephew, Louis Napoleon, rise to power. As funny as that is to say, he would help him rise up because he originally attempted a coup d'etat against the French government, which completely backfired on him. But he was exiled to England. But then when the revolution, I believe, of 1848 happened, France was one of the few countries that the revolution actually took control in. It was actually one of the few countries that the revolution did succeed in. They elected a provisional government, obviously, because that's what you do in times like that. But they also Louis Napoleon would be the first president of this new republic, and he did a coup d'état. He took over the government, and Victor Hugo felt betrayed because, again, he grew up in this idealistic way of looking at not only France and the revolutions, but people like Louis Napoleon's uncle. Napoleon to this day is seen as a hero to France. People don't there definitely are those in France who probably don't view him favorably, but overall Napoleon is looked upon. He's buried, his ashes are at the Hôtel des Invalides, which is in the center of Paris. Napoleon said that his one wish was when he died that he be buried at the center of his people who he loved. So Napoleon wasn't very much viewed as a villain by France, but the rest of the world obviously viewed him as a villain for obvious reasons. And here they come. The Prussians. But he was, it was a little bit of a shock to someone like Victor Hugo, who sincerely wanted to believe Louis Napoleon was going to be, the better man, so to speak. And he was sadly let down by that. But again, this is years after Waterloo and everything happened. But in the context of history, it is important because, people often don't understand the greater scheme of history. And things like this are very important because if you ever watch the podcast with me and Nick, I went into that whole thing about how everything in history is George Washington's fault. Everything that has happened up to this point in world history has been George Washington's fault. But if you really want to think about it, if Waterloo didn't happen, the Empire of France wouldn't have completely collapsed, so to speak. If Waterloo didn't happen, is land there? Yes. I like how I'm engaging with the Prussians before I'm engaging with the British. If Waterloo didn't happen, Prussia wouldn't have gotten bolstered the way they were. Because, Prussia rose more so during the time of Frederick the Great. But, oh, geez. Just saw that come. British are attacking. See, this is the failsafe that happens if they get attacked like that. They all just charge. But as I was saying, sorry, I got caught up with the facts. Waterloo defined what Europe became because, it's because of things like Waterloo. Otto von Bismarck, who is someone he was actually one of my first videos on this channel was about Otto von Bismarck. Otto von Bismarck said, the hereditary enemy of Germany and Prussia is France. And that is because he grew up in the Napoleonic era. That's where he grew up. That's where he lived in. And he didn't live. He was born in 1815. But he, grew up hearing these stories about the French occupations and what they did to Prussia and how they treated Prussia like they were nothing and things like that. And that really had an effect on someone like Otto von Bismarck, who he held that in with himself because he was angry, and that's why he knew in order for there to be a Prussia he had to destroy France first, which he did. Which again, another genius. Otto von Bismarck, the man knew exactly what he was doing. Can we just break this Prussian infantry? Why is this taking so long? But yeah, he wait, let's take care of them first. This is what Ney should have done. I have Marshal Ney leading this cavalry charge. That's why. Yeah. Well, that's another interesting, the cavalry charge at Waterloo, which, again, I will do a video on Waterloo. Like, you can't not do a video on Waterloo. It's one of the most important battles. Like I said, it's, if not the most important battle in world history, it's one of the most important. You know, you have this situation. They get charged. Literally the balance of Europe is being tested here. You have Napoleon revigored with a whole new army, ready to retake what is his. And you have the British under Wellington, which, again, Wellington's an upstart. You know, a lot of people don't realize Wellington was an upstart general. No one really thought much about Arthur Wellesley before the Napoleonic Wars. You know, he was the second son of landed Irish landowner. He was Irish. Another fun fact, he wouldn't consider himself Irish, but he was Irish. He was part of the Protestant minority. His father was a wealthy landowner, but his brother, who really took over the family lands, he was the one who obviously succeeded his father as head of the household. But he was, oh, geez. See, this is what they should have done. But there was really only a few course of actions you could, as a younger brother of a wealthy family, do. Oh, Scots, Highlanders. But his options were go into the nobility, go into the clergy, you know, the Church of England, or go into the military. And he chose to go into the military because that was, in his idea, the better option. And he was a good general. He was. You know, the Peninsula Campaign itself, which, again, I need to do a series on the Peninsula Campaign, because the Peninsula Campaign is a masterpiece. But he just was so clever. Speaking of the Duke of Wellington. Oh my god, this is even better. That this is the old guard that's about to do this. Shoot him. Did I get Blucher again? Blucher is the only one that always gets away. Bet on Blucher, guys. Blucher always wins. Yeah, but he, again, like I was saying, he was no one thought anything about Arthur Wellesley. No one thought he was going to be much. He changed that. He was like, no, I'm going to make myself, you know, when you hear upstart, and that's him right there. He's about to charge right into a foursquare. He refused to let his lower status as a younger, because again, he was Irish, and even though oh, there they run, beautiful. Even though he was obviously, you know, regardless, he was a member of the nobility, but even with that, he was Irish, and that was frowned upon because the Irish were viewed, you know, let my Irishness come out right now real quick. Being Irish was viewed as lower class, and he was fighting against that itself. But what ended up happening was, because of all of his victories, you know, the Duke of Wellington, that was actually a title awarded to him. That wasn't a hereditary title. He was awarded that after the Battle of Salamanca, I believe. So, you know, it's not... History is very interesting. And I think on some level, which is kind of ironic of Napoleon, because Napoleon was... They were equals in more ways than people realize. Because Napoleon was from Corsican nobility, which was kind of viewed as lower-class French nobility. So the fact that you had these two guys who were both considered not as much the same kind of makes it interesting. And then you had Blucher. Blucher's actually a fascinating character too. He was born in what's known as East Prussia, but it was Poland today. It's Poland today. But he was very interesting character, Gebhard Von Blucher. He served in the Swedish army for some time. against the Prussians. But that was actually that was a very common practice back then, because what you would do is Prussia had the best generals, best officers, and what they would do a lot of the time is kill the Brunswickers. They would kind of be like mercenaries, you know. It's like the Baron von Steuben during the American Revolution. A lot of times these guys would go to other countries and just... Is that a cannon? And just serve as hired generals. So Blucher was one of those. And he was a very good general. He was, you know. He definitely was one of the older guys. You know, I would say of the Napoleonic generals who weren't French, the top three would have been Blucher, Kutuzov, and Wellington. Those are the top three. And like I said in our Burning of Moscow video, and I believe in my Borodino video, Kutuzov did not actually make it to the end of the Napoleonic Wars. He died during the Russian campaign. And again, he didn't actually die from the campaign. He died of old age, which is kind of ironic. All right, what do we got left for the British? Only household dragoons. Nice. We have a few infantry regiments. Nah, so, no, they're not even British units. All right, we're doing pretty good. I would love to do a review of the movie Waterloo with all of you. It's such a good movie. If you want to, you know, I'm hoping this Napoleon movie will be the next best Napoleonic movie. But if you want to see outside Masters and Commanders, one of the best movies about the Napoleonic War is the movie Masters and Commanders. Waterloo. It starts with Napoleon abdicate. It actually starts with the Marshal's Revolt, which is something I do want to do a video on, because the Marshal's Revolt is a very fascinating part of Napoleon's history. It starts with Marshal Ney and Jean Soult and all these marshals confronting Napoleon, being like, it's over. Like, we need to surrender. The war is over. And it goes all the way to the end of Waterloo. Very good movie. Rod Steiger plays Napoleon. Christopher Plummer, the late Christopher Plummer, which it's the late Rod Steiger too, but I think more people know Christopher Plummer from movies like Sound of Music and stuff. But Christopher Plummer plays the Duke of Wellington, and he just... It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The thumbnail for this is actually someone's painting from that movie of when Napoleon commits the Old Guard to fighting. It's a great movie. Look at all these dead English. It's a lot of dead French, too. Not gonna lie. This was, oh, wait, no. Those aren't French. Those are... Oh, yeah, they're French. Those are French. Unfortunate. Well, I can also show you this now for the cavalry charge. So this is what ended up happening was Napoleon had left the field. He was feeling unwell, so he left the field for a moment. And Wellington was getting hammered by artillery. So you see the way this hill is. What he ended up doing was withdrawing to get out of range of the artillery. But Ney, is Ney still alive? Ney is still alive, and he has a lot of guys with him still. Ney, I'm going to put him up here just so you can see him. Ney ended up believing that they were retreating, and he wanted to make up for what happened at Cadabra. Ney did not... What is with all these things giving Ney a mustache? Ney did not have facial hair. I know I keep getting upset about this, but I don't get it. But as I was saying, Ney wanted to make up for what happened at Cadabra to Napoleon, because he knew he messed up. And what he ended up doing was, because he thought that Wellington was retreating, he got all of the cavalry in the army, you know, what used to be Murat's cavalry corps, and he ordered a massive cavalry charge. It's probably one of the biggest charges after Elula. I think it's definitely bigger than the charge of the, maybe not. I'll have to find that out. I was going to say it might be bigger than the charge of the Winged Hussars. But what ended up happening was, you see how it curves down here, so the French didn't see what was going on. Wellington saw them charging, and he ordered the artillery to continue firing until the last moment, and then to withdraw. And back here, he had squares set up with all of his regiments and the artillery hidden them. There was a lot of controversy behind that cavalry charge. For example, there's people always discuss how they didn't spike, which spiking is the process of putting in the cannon hole where you put the primer, you put the flint. They didn't spike them. They didn't put nails in them to make the cannons unusable. So there's a lot of controversy behind that, because the question is, why didn't they do it? Because that would have helped the French out significantly. It's Waterloo is a very controversial battle. There we go. I like to end on that. All right, well, we did it, friends. We fought the Battle of Waterloo. Like, again, I know I kind of have hindsight because I know the Prussians are going to arrive and everything. But the whole point of this was to sit, play the game, and have a conversation about Battle of Waterloo and about Napoleonic history. And, you know, after this week, I'll probably be backing off the Napoleonic subjects a little bit, just because now that the movie's out, I know people are kind of probably going to be tired of all the Napoleon stuff, but let's continue taking a look.
A great victory. What man dare deny that this is a triumph of arms unmatched in our...
Didn't I say this yesterday? A great victory. What men dare deny that this is a triumph of arms unmatched in our people's history? The guy acts like he... All right, so let's take a look at what we got. Okay. That's actually not bad, considering I took on 2 armies. Wow, the British actually did suffer pretty bad. The Prussians, I got the Prussians on the march, so that makes sense. And again, these numbers are not exactly what actually were there, because the Prussians came in with 50,000 men. The French had, I believe, somewhere around 75,000. The British had around 85,000. Like, these numbers don't actually really reflect what it was. Because I'm 90% sure the British had more troops than the French. But let's take a look at who got the most kills. I gotta say, this is one of the first times my infantry did not rout in any of the fighting, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm gonna guess it's Napoleon, yeah. Wow, he lost 10 guys. That's kind of nuts. He's the only unit that was engaged and didn't take anyone out. Where's Ney on here? There he is. 54, not bad for a Marshal of France. Ney actually was famous that when he was rallying his men, he yelled, "Do you want to see how a Marshal of France dies?" And that rallied his men to charge with him. But pretty well done. All right, friends. Well, that was Waterloo. All right, friends. So that was the Battle of Waterloo. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you all learned something. I will have a few... I know I said I'm going to be stopping with the Napoleon videos, but we will have a few more videos. I'll be doing one on the Imperial Guard, the Marshal's Revolt, and an actual original video on the Battle of Waterloo. Now, when I usually do my battle videos, I usually do them in parts, with the exception of Antietam, but I will be doing this one very similar to Antietam. Thank you so much for joining me, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you please like, share, and comment. Please comment. I've been responding more. You've been seeing me responding more. Also, please share, especially because I know everyone loves the gameplays. Thank you so much for joining us today, friends. If you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We have new content up daily. Now that I'm not as sick as I was, I'm doing far better. You know, it's the beard. The beard's definitely making me more well. But thank you so much for joining us, friends, and we will see you in the next one.